we left to fly to Tripoli, I think the name of the airport is. And as we were at the airport, we saw the Libya team again. So they stayed one more day to do their recovery. Again, I went up to them and said, listen, I hope everything was fine. We're looking forward to the game. And they didn't really say much. So I was sort of thinking this is a bit strange. They got on their plane like half an hour before we got on ours, because I first thought we were going to fly together because we were all there at the same time, which would have been strange anyway. But and then we took off, didn't think anything of it. And then as we were flying, like I said, it was supposed to take like 3 hours. After like 3.5 hours, I like watched all my episodes on Netflix that I'd already downloaded. I was like, this is taking a bit long. So anyway, nothing's up. It still went on like another 15 minutes, 20 minutes. All of a sudden we start landing somewhere. I said, okay, this took like an hour too long, but could happen. Pilot didn't say anything. We landed, and when I say it was like dark at the airport, there was no lights, nothing. The pilot landed, we got off there, we landed there, and then the pilot finally got onto the, like whatever you call it. The
air traffic control.
Yeah. Like the speakers in the plane, he said, oh guys, just to let you know, we had to divert to a different airport. I don't know why, but this is what they told us. So we are not in Tripoli, but we're in another city.
So they were advised by air traffic control?
Yeah, as they were landing, they were told you can, by under strict government instruction, you cannot land here. So you have to divert to another airport.
So this is the Libyan government who have told the air traffic control to tell the pilot, you're not landing.
You're not landing here. And the strange thing is, obviously, Libya had landed there probably like 20 minutes before us. So unless there was like a dangerous situation, like nobody understood. The pilot came out, he's a Tunisian guy, he's about in his 60s. When I say he was like sweating and he looked stressed, and he was like, oh yeah, sorry I couldn't tell you guys anything because I was too busy trying to fly the plane. And he was like, I knew about this airport, but it's really difficult to find because it's only a seasonal airport. They only use it 2 months a year. The rest of the year, the airport is closed. And they only use it during Ramadan when people go to Mecca in Saudi Arabia. And this is not the time. So he said there's nobody really at the airport.
What plane are we talking about here? Are we talking a big boy, an Airbus?
No. It's like
a slightly smaller, but still.
Yeah, like a normal chartered plane for, let's say, 40 people.
Oh, 40 people on the plane. Yeah, okay.
Not a propeller one,
yeah.
Thank God. But and he was stressed out because he said, yeah, we're running out of fuel. And he said that he knew where this airport was. But if we had a different pilot, it would have been difficult to find. So at this point, we were already thinking like, bloody hell, they've like basically played with our life because why would you do that? So we landed, then we got off the plane, and you could already feel it in the air. You know, there were some guys standing there kind of looking at us, like grinning. Some of them were just standing there smoking a cigarette. It looked like they were just some local guys that walked over. None of them were wearing uniform for the airport. It was just like, okay, you're going to get off the plane now. Got to the passport control. Of course, that took like 2 hours. The usual stuff where I thought, okay, they're going to try and make us feel uncomfortable here. Then we got into the airport, and they're like, okay, well, we have to wait for our bus. And they're like, your bus is not here. No Wi-Fi, no 3G, nothing. So on my phone, I've got like a spending limit. So I can only make like a few phone calls up to like 20 quid extra a month, right? And I can't upgrade or change it because I can't get on the internet. So at the time I called my wife and I was like, listen, just to let you know I'm safe. She was like panicking because normally I always text her to let her know that I've landed. I don't know what's going to happen yet, but just wanted to give you a call. And then like 2 hours went past, 3 hours went past, no bus, nothing there. And then some of a delegation that flew with us from the Nigerian Football Federation, they got restless and they're like, okay, we're going to go out and try and figure out how we can get a bus. To us to find out now that they had locked the gates with like big metal locks.
To the airport?
To the airport, and they're like, you're not leaving this airport.
Why? Is there any reason?
And they were like, no, you cannot leave the airport. You have to wait here for the bus. And we're like, no, we're not going to wait. It was already, we took off about 7 o'clock. This was about 2 a.m., right? No, we only brought some water with us that we were having on the plane, and we had like a little snack box they gave us on the plane as well. So now we were sitting there thinking, okay, this might take another few hours. At this point, they were starting to come in, and you could tell that they were starting to film us, and they were like laughing about it. They brought like a media crew to come and film us at the airport.
What?
Yeah. And then like
like Libyan TV?
Libyan TV
to film you kind of sweating
without
like, food and
drinking.
Yeah,
like obviously they wanted to see reaction. At this point, like we were fuming, but we were kind of laughing about it. So there was still like high spirits, like boys playing cards, like listening to music, think it'll be fine. And then it got to like 3, 4 a.m. and then everyone started to get a bit of head loss.
So you landed at 7?
Like 9-ish, or like not 10-ish because it took about an hour extra. And then it was like 4 a.m., nothing's happened yet. And then, they said to us, well, we're not sure if we can get this bus to you in time. We can offer you guys mini buses to go, but without security. I'm not going to get in a little minibus through Libya where they've got like a torn government at the moment. There's like some areas are just not safe. To then drive to Tripoli to find out probably when we get there that our hotel is not ready yet or something like that. So we were like, okay, well, we're going to wait for the bus. went on like another 1 or 2 hours, and I was like, guys, we have to try and call some people because I don't think anybody knows what's going on right now. So we tried to call. I think one of the only ones whose phone was still working. Managed to get through to like people high up in Nigeria, and we're like, listen, we're stuck in this airport. Yeah, government people. No news yet. And this kind of went on. Obviously, we ran out of food at this point. Players are fuming. You saw some pictures of like people slumped on like chairs, sleeping there. We got the morning now, so the day broke. We managed to speak to someone who's working in the airport to give us a hotspot. So there was like 50 of us standing around this one guy with his phone. And he was kind of fed up as well. He's like, I don't really care about Libya. You know, I don't like how they treat the people here. If you need to like call or text, just use my phone. And I said to everyone, like, listen, this is the point where we're going to have to tell everyone what's happening right now, because otherwise nothing's going to change, you know. And they're going to expect us to play this game tomorrow, and we haven't trained, we haven't slept. Like, we're not going to do that. So we had like a little meeting amongst the players, and I was like, listen, guys, we're not going to play this game. Like, I don't care what they say. If they give the 3 points to Libya, that's fine. But I'm not going to be involved in this because it's going to be like an absolute show, you know. So that's where we got to. The next morning,
did the players all agree with that? Were they all on your side?
Yeah. They were like, nah, we're with you. Then we went to go, and obviously the president's there with us from the federation. So I said to them, like, we're not going to play this game. Then they tried to convince us, and I was like, no, it's not going to happen. Like, they have to respect us to a certain point. Like, we respect ourselves, and we didn't do anything on purpose to them. So it's not like tit for tat. Like, we can understand it. So, and then in the morning, we saw one of the guys. Because now the news had broken, and I think they were getting pressure to like.
It was all over. It was straight away. It was all over everything, wasn't it?
It was everywhere, and they felt the heat. And the one guy who's been standing with us in the airport the whole night went out the airport, like put round the corner, came back with the bus. It was like, okay, you guys can go now. And we were like, mate, we saw you here all night taking the piss, and like now you expect us to get on this bus and to drive to Tripoli to play the game. And we're like, we're not going to get on the bus. Like, we just want to go back home now. Like, no, you have to get on the bus. We have to play this game. And I was like, guys, I don't even think it's going to be safe by the time we get there, because if you play and these security guards that are here that are like taking the piss out of us have to protect us in the stadium if we end up like winning this game, it's going to be dangerous. Like, why would we do that?
Words out, isn't it?
And then, so we already had some players, obviously the guys with the fancy clubs, they were calling and saying, oh, we're going to send a private jet to pick you up, this and that. I'm still waiting for my club to call me, but they didn't call me. So,
did anybody send a private jet, or have you all got to get back on the plane together?
You know what it was? They could send the private jet, but they had to send it to Tripoli. So then we still had to make that journey because the airport was closed. They don't use the airport where we landed. So like,
just all jump in with Victor, right?
Yeah, I was like, I'll go with Victor. I'll probably be safe, you know. So so that's how it went on. And then Damien said, okay, we want to get back, and they said, oh, we haven't got any fuel at this airport. We're going to have to wait for fuel to come. So at this point, I was like, guys, whatever you want to say, please just like put it out there, you know, tell people what's really happening, because people are not going to believe us. So then obviously people saw my tweets and we were going a bit crazy with it, but that's just really just reporting what's happening step by step, right? And then like another few hours went past, and then they said, oh, actually, we have got some fuel here at the airport. And yeah, you can fuel up the plane. We found some, and you can go now. And then we got on the plane, and it was like ridiculous. When we got back to Nigeria, like some of us were like willing to like kiss the floor. We were so happy to just be back. And they were like, okay, we're going to have to decide what's going to happen with this game now. And we were like, okay, well, listen, you decide, but this is what happened. If we don't win the game, that's fine. And then thankfully, CAF came back and said they would give us the 3 points and give it 3-0, and they got a fine. And funny enough, like the international break after in November, Benin went to go and play there, and the players that went there, they had like a game. They got stoned after the game. The manager used to be our old manager in Nigeria. He had like pictures of, I saw pictures of him on Twitter. He had like blood on his head. Someone punched him. So like for me, for that even to be allowed for a country like that to host a game is crazy. Like if they want to play a game, host in another country or something like that. But yeah, it was ridiculous really. It was probably the craziest experience I've ever had. And I've experienced some crazy stuff in Nigeria, but this was like by far the wildest thing.
Mate, what a story.
You can't make it up, can you?